The remarkable journey of coffee, from Ethiopian goats to global phenomenon. Have you ever wondered, as you take that first sip of coffee in the morning, about the remarkable journey those beans took to reach your cup? Today, we're tracing coffee's extraordinary path from its mythical origins to becoming the world's second most traded commodity, outranked only by oil. The story of coffee begins, as many great discoveries do, with a legend. In the ancient coffee forests of Ethiopia around the 9th century, a goat herder named Kaldi noticed something unusual about his flock. After eating berries from a certain tree, his goats began to dance, prancing with unusual energy well into the night. Intrigued, Kaldi tried the berries himself and experienced that now familiar sensation of alertness. He shared his discovery with local monks, who initially disapproved, but soon recognized the berries' value in keeping them awake during long hours of prayer. Word spread, and thus began humanity's love affair with coffee. But this is just the folklore. What we know with certainty is that coffee cultivation began in the highlands of Ethiopia, eventually making its way to the Arabian Peninsula through trade routes. By the 15th century, coffee was being grown in Yemen, where it became deeply integrated into Sufi religious practices. The world's first coffee houses, called Gave Khaneh, emerged in the cities of Mecca and Medina, becoming centers not just for enjoying the beverage, but for exchanging ideas, socializing, and engaging in intellectual conversation. This social aspect of coffee would prove to be as transformative as its caffeinated properties. When coffee reached Constantinople, now Istanbul, in the 16th century, Ottoman coffeehouses became known as schools of the wise, places where news was shared, politics discussed, and chess played for hours. Coffee's journey to Europe wasn't without controversy. When it arrived in Venice around 1615, local clergy condemned it as the bitter invention of Satan, its stimulating effects deemed suspicious and potentially sinful. The controversy grew so fierce that Pope Clement VIII was asked to intervene. According to legend, after tasting coffee himself, the Pope declared, "This Satan's drink is so delicious that it would be a pity to let the infidels have exclusive use of it." With papal blessing, coffee houses exploded across Europe, becoming crucibles of Enlightenment thinking. London alone had over 300 coffee houses by 1700, each catering to different clientele: merchants, artists, writers, or politicians. Lloyd's of London, now a global insurance market, began as Edward Lloyd's Coffee House, where merchants and underwriters met to do business. In Vienna, after the 1683 defeat of the Ottoman Turks, abandoned sacks of coffee beans were claimed as war spoils. The Viennese added milk and honey to bitter Turkish coffee, creating their own style and opening elegant coffee houses that would become central to the city's cultural identity. But it was the colonial powers that truly globalized coffee. The Dutch smuggled coffee seedlings out of Yemen and established plantations in their colonies, particularly in Java, Indonesia. This is why, even today, Java remains slang for coffee. The French followed suit when Gabriel de Clieu, a naval officer, obtained a coffee plant from the Royal Botanical Gardens in Paris and transported it to Martinique in 1723. From this single plant, coffee cultivation spread throughout the Caribbean and South America. Brazil, which would eventually become the world's largest coffee producer, received its first coffee plant in 1727 when Lieutenant-Colonel Francisco de Melo Paleta charmed the wife of French Guyana's governor into giving him coffee seeds hidden in a bouquet of flowers. As coffee plantations expanded across colonial territories, so did the demand for labor. This dark chapter in coffee's history saw the exploitation of millions of enslaved people, forced to work on plantations under brutal conditions, creating immense wealth for European colonial powers at a terrible human cost. By the 19th century, innovations in brewing methods had made coffee more accessible to the masses. The percolator, invented in 1818 by Parisian tinsmith Joseph Henry Marie Laurin, allowed people to brew coffee at home with relative ease. In 1908, German housewife Melita Benz invented the paper coffee filter, using blotting paper from her son's school notebook. The 20th century brought the rise of instant coffee, with the first successful process developed by George Constant Washington, an American inventor living in Guatemala. During World War I, instant coffee became standard issue for American troops, creating a generation of coffee drinkers accustomed to its convenience. After World War II, the electric drip coffee maker changed home brewing again. In Italy, the invention of the espresso machine by Angelo Moriondo in 1884, later perfected by Luigi Bezzera and Desiderio Pavoni, created a new coffee culture, focused on the artistry of the barista. The true coffee revolution of our era began in the 1970s, when specialty coffee emerged as a movement. Pioneered by people like Alfred Peet, who founded Peet's Coffee in Berkeley, California, this approach emphasized high-quality beans, careful roasting, and the importance of origin. The founders of Starbucks, inspired by Peet, would take this concept global, transforming coffee from a commodity into an experience. Today's third-wave coffee movement has taken this even further, treating coffee with the same reverence as fine wine, highlighting single-origin beans and direct trade relationships with farmers. What began with dancing goats in Ethiopia has become a global industry worth over $100 billion annually, supporting the livelihoods of over 25 million farmers, mostly smallholders in developing countries. The next time you take a sip of your favorite brew, remember that you're participating in a tradition that spans centuries and continents, a tradition that has fueled revolutions, inspired artists, and connected countless people in conversation over a simple cup of coffee. From those ancient Ethiopian forests to your morning mug, coffee's journey reflects our own human story, one of curiosity, cultural exchange, colonization, innovation, and community. It's a reminder that something as simple as a beverage can shape history in ways we're still discovering. So here's to coffee, the drink that woke the world up.